We'll make our way inside the tent. We'll get started right away. Good morning. Good morning and welcome to our groundbreaking ceremony. I'm Scott Morris. I'm the Assistant City Manager with the City of Enid. And we're so excited that you joined us today to break ground at the site of our new water treatment plant. Significant progress has already been made at the intake site, some boring sites, and at our booster pump station. So what a great day for Enid and beautiful weather out here. The wind's barely even blowing here in Oklahoma. I just wanted to take a minute here as we get started and remind everyone of the great effort that it took us to get to this point. I've always heard it said that it takes a village to raise a child, and a project of this size, it surely does take a village. So our leadership had the vision and the grit to undertake Enid's largest project in history. And so I want to recognize our mayor and commissioners and past commissioners at this time for what they did and their contribution. So Mayor Pankinen is here. We've got Commissioner Allen, Commissioner Orr, Commissioner Jansen and Mason are here as well. Am I leaving any commissioners out, Mayor? Okay. So let's congratulate those men on their effort. We had help from our federal government. They actually passed a congressional act that allowed Oklahoma and to partner with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers that saves millions of dollars on our storage contract. So at the federal level, we've had so much help. I'd like to thank our representatives and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers from Senator Inhofe and his representatives Bryson Panis and Ryan Sproul, and Senator Langford and his representative Tanner Roberts, for Representative Frank Lucas, Grace Enmeyer, And from the Corps, Colonel Preston, Mike Abate, and Kimberly Jackson, thank you for your assistance. We've also had excellent support from our state. Our state leadership made a change to allow municipalities to utilize the construction manager at risk (CMAR) method to procure this project. OWRB has offered Enid outstanding interest rates on several loans. The Oklahoma Department of Environmental Quality has been instrumental helping us navigate the CMAR process and obtain all of the permits that we've needed so far. And we've had good partnerships with sovereign nations in our state. Join me in recognizing Greg Carr and Eddie Rondor from ODEQ, and Julie Cunningham, Joe Freeman, Hernan Fernandez, and Tanya White from OWRB. What a great partner we have in Vance Air Force Base. Join me in thanking Vance Air Force Base and their efforts in this endeavor as well. And finally, we have a fantastic team with Garver Engineering, Garney Construction, and the City of Enid. David, Matt, you guys have spent a lot of time. Eric, there's a lot of things that you guys have been working on, and so thank you for your contributions on this project. Thank you for attending, and with that, please welcome Mayor Pankinen.
I don't have to adjust the mic. Usually I have to, just a point of reference here. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the groundbreaking ceremony for the new water treatment plant. Several current and previous commissioners from the city of Enid are also with us this morning. I use the term guest. I'm not thinking about people in here as guests. Actually, I'm thinking a more descriptive term is probably team leaders and team members. Everyone introduced was instrumental in getting the largest project ever planned for our community to this visible construction site. Our former mayor, Bill Shuey, and many of the previous and current commissioners had to have the strategic vision that included water needs of our community well into the future. Last week, Commissioner Roberts and I joined the staff members as well as Garver and Garney representatives for a trip to Caw Lake that followed the route of the pipeline, all 70 miles of it. Garver engineered the pipeline, and Garney was hired as the contract manager at risk to build it. We actually drove every inch of the pipeline route, reviewed every water and road crossing, and stopped to see the construction occurring at the intermediate pump station, as well as the Caw Lake water induction site. I was very impressed with the progress made and with the safety measures employed at all construction sites. I see this project as a community dream that will provide water needs of our community, including Vance Air Force Base, into the distant future. Community leaders need to solve the immediate issues of the day, and that's what we're always putting out fires, right? But more importantly, they need to have the vision and fortitude to address the issues that have an impact well into the future. This water pipeline is a perfect example of that forward thinking. So that said, I will turn it back to Scott and let him continue on. Thank you and welcome this morning.
Thank you, Mayor. We have with us Bryson Panis, who is the Senator Inhofe State Director. He'll now give his remarks.
Well, good morning. I'm going to pull this up real quick. So I see a lot of familiar faces. I used to be the field rep up here years ago, maybe 5 years ago now, but that was about the time that Chris Gdansky and I used to were able to kind of start, I don't know, I guess for my awareness, learn about what the possibilities were, and then to see this today and actually pipes laying behind me, and then following ever since, I guess, I don't know, 2016 or so when this was started, to see where we've come today is awesome. So wanted to just give remarks on behalf of the senator. He wasn't able to be here today. And really, I kind of learned a little bit when I got his notes, but in 2018, and this was Scott alluded to earlier, but in 2018, General Simonite was the chief of engineers for the Army Corps of Engineers, and he actually was able to, the senator asked him to testify in front of the Environment and Public Works Committee, which the senator was the former chairman of, to raise the issue of the outdated water storage regulations that existed. He agreed during that testimony that the Corps regulations were preventing a reasonable contract from from getting underway, and so they needed a legislative fix, exactly what you were speaking about earlier. And so in the 2020 WRDA bill, so it would have been negotiated in 2019, that following year, but in 2020 Water Resources Development Act included the Enid provision, as it was come to be known. And that basically said that any new water storage contract, the Corps could only charge 110% of the initial principal cost of the water supply being sought. And so, little in the weeds there, but that's what actually happened. And that, of course, translated into about $8 million that we were able to realize here. And so, very good work from him up there. And I guess I would just like to echo maybe working with the Corps throughout, not just this project, but other ones, and that whole legislative process to get that fixed has been great to work with the Tulsa District. I mean, we work with you guys so much across the state, but this is a really kind of a cornerstone or a staple project for sure to see, I don't know, get underway and come to completion. So thank you guys very much, and thank you for the time.
Thank you, Bryson. We have Julie Cunningham. She's the Executive Director of the Oklahoma Water Resources Board. She's going to give us her comments.
Well, thank you, guys. And I almost don't have to adjust the mic, but I'm used to that. Actually, it's the first time I've ever worn Skechers out in a public speaking event, so thank you for having this outside. I know we're going to be playing in the dirt later, but I just wanted to say I really appreciate the invitation to be here today to help celebrate this event. Chris and I have talked many years and about this, and seeing it to fruition is absolutely extremely exciting. You know, these types of projects are not easy. They don't come easy, and we certainly compliment, recognize, and congratulate the Enid officials for their forward-thinking leadership in addressing the critical water supplies needs of the community and the surrounding area through this regional project. You know, at the Water Board, we are responsible for ongoing water supply planning. Here, obviously, you deal with droughts. You also deal with flooding, and regional issues are certainly important. You know, as we move forward and encourage the diversification of our water supplies, this seems like a natural, certainly a natural fit going to Call Lake, and you know, bringing that to fruition is quite something. I'd like to take a minute to also recognize not only the officials, the federal officials, our congressional and legislative leaders, but also the citizens. You know, those citizens and the work that Enid has done to really inform the people that are going to be affected by rate increases and those types of things, and by additional water for growth for the future. You know, they've bought in, they're willing to invest in the city's future, and expanding their critical source water portfolio, if you will, is something that is extremely important, and I want to certainly applaud the citizens for supporting this. I know it's not easy, and this certainly, as everyone else has said, this will certainly take Enid way into the future. I quickly want to talk about the Northwest Water Action Team and give kudos to them as well. They're looking at water regional planning, and we're certainly excited to be able to provide a loan through several loans through our financial assistance programs for over $330 million in partnership with DEQ and our revenue bond loan program. These two funding sources alone are going to save Enid citizens over $26.4 million in financing and interest charges. So I think that's a huge story. Yeah, and we certainly couldn't have these programs in perpetuity without the support of our federal delegation, so we certainly appreciate that. And I would say, it feels like old home week when I come to Enid. We've worked together for a long, long time. So many projects. I did a little research, and for those that know Mr. Joe Freeman, our department head, he regrets not being here. He's been involved from the very beginning. The very first project we did actually was 25 years ago this month, November 12, 1996, for the $8.2 million new interceptor sewer line. So that was, or sewer and line work. So that was a huge, huge deal, and we certainly appreciate the ongoing effort. So once again, I just want to thank you. It truly takes everyone, as you see this whole group and at the state, local, federal level to accomplish big things, and this is certainly one of them. You should be very proud. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. I never get to do this. Okay. Our last speaker this morning is Colonel Preston, the commander of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
Okay, I'll raise a little bit. So thank you for the invitation today. First off, so we are getting close to Veterans Day, a couple days. So how many veterans we got out there in the audience? Please stand up. Okay. Thank you all for your service, and make sure you celebrate that here in a couple days, and thank family members and friends out there. We do about 10% of our adult population here in Oklahoma are veterans. So here on Kaw Lake. So Kaw Lake, this has been a great process working with the City of Enid. It's been about 2014 when this process started. And the lake goes back even further than that. So it started from the Flood Control Act of 1962, and then from 66 to 76 started building the lake, finished it. The dam's about 2 miles long, covered about 17,000 acres of land out there, water storage. It's the 7th biggest lake in the state, so right there in the middle. And our biggest is probably Texoma or Eufaula. They're probably the biggest here in the state. But Texoma's half Texas, so I'm not sure we can count that or not. But when this was authorized, it had many purposes. So obviously water supply is one of them, but flood control was the big piece. Hydropower, there's some hydropower out here. Fish and wildlife conservation, water qualities out there. And of course, recreation is a big piece of Kaw Lake. Most importantly for us here is the water supply. And we're actually, our Southwest Division, the division that our district is in, consists of Galveston, Little Rock, us, and Fort Worth. 75% of all the Corps of Engineers water supply is in our division. And of that, 60% of the Corps of Engineers water supply is here in Tulsa District. So it's a big deal for us too. We serve about 20 million people water in the whole region. So it's a big deal for Tulsa District. And here on this project, we're worked with the city and the state on the certifications, permitting, going out there on federal land, modifying that to work the water intake piece, which I went out there and visited about a month ago. It's very impressive. The permitting for compliance with the Clean Water Act, we helped with all that. And real estate actions, Kim Jackson's here, all the real estate piece, we worked all that. So we are very grateful to be part of this great relationship with the City of Enid and the state, and hoping this be a great project here and serve the community in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel. Before we take pictures of the groundbreaking, Chris Gdansky, our Director of Engineering, he's done so much for this project, but he'd like to give us some final thoughts before we go out and take some pictures of the groundbreaking.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate that. So you can't imagine how excited that I am that this day is here. When I started this project back in 2014 and sat down with a good friend and a trusted advisor, Jimmy Stalling, to lay it out, make sure I didn't miss things, I was thinking to myself, how in the world are we going to do this? And there were times, I must say, that I thought this day would never get here. And Jimmy reminded me, don't ever underestimate the residents of this community. They are very savvy. They know a difference between a need and a want. Listen to them, take their advice. And as I looked over my shoulder, I realized This just isn't a celebration of the great effort between the hundreds of engineers from Garver who have taken the vision that Enid has and put it into constructible drawings, but also the patience of the boys from Garney over here helping us learn to do construction management at risk and being patient with us when we were wanting more and more and more information. This is really a celebration about the residents of this community, always with an eye to the future. Back in the 50s, we buried a 30-inch pipeline to the southwest of here to bring water to Enid. With an eye to the future, we buried another line west of here to bring water to Enid. So it's that celebration from my perspective. This is a celebration of the residents of Enid who've always got their eye on the future to make sure Enid is always vibrant and always growing. Thank you.
All right, it's going to be picture time. So if you are mayor, commissioner, if you are, let's see here, we're going to want someone, we're going to want OWRB. We're going to, yeah, Julie. So let's start heading out here and grabbing shovels. ODEQ, Eddie and Greg, or Greg and Eddie, excuse me, and from the Corps of Engineers, Colonel Preston, Mike, Kimberly, all of our mayor and commissioners, come on out.